What's up, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Alan Kett. You are with the Museum of Graffiti's Oral History podcast brought to you by Modelo. Today we have a very special guest, none other than
Blade, the Crazy Five. Yeah.
Blade. Thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, it's cool. Glad to be here.
So, Blade, we do this podcast to try to get these stories, these histories that writers have witnessed, participated in on record. So, I want to start off with you going way back to the early days of your youth before you started writing, before you got into graffiti. What made you want to start? Where did you see it? What got you going?
Well, when I first saw the graph going around, just the single hits book from 70 to 71 when I was like 14, I wondered who was doing it, and then I met some of the guys, and Hondo One, Fresco, Dr. Sex, Phase Two, Charmin, Tracy 168. Those are the names that were really up, like in 1970, 71. But just say there's no masterpieces until 72. So these are just like singlets you saw everywhere. Ski 168, Purple Haze, Take Five, Taboo One. I can go like through a million names of that. And I saw that everywhere and didn't realize that those were actually people I was hanging out with. And by 1972 is when Hondo One took me for the first time to go do pieces.
So, what neighborhood was this in, and where were you living at the time?
This was in Corp City. A lot of writers came from Corp City, Lee 163rd. There were a lot of guys that came from there, from Section 5. Phase Two's cousin was Lee. But just, and that's when I met Hondo and we started going out there and just having a great time.
So who was Hondo? How did you meet him?
He was one of the bigger kids in school. I guess he was born like in 55. So Hondo and Fresco, Camaro 170, Rica 120. These are the guys he first started going to do mail trucks with, buses, Mule 182. The guys that really got around big in the early days. And by 72, all those guys got drafted to Vietnam because they're born in 55 or 56. 1973, you're 18 years old. That was their ass. But I kept bombing, and then I went back to my original neighborhood where I was born, and I started bombing with Bam and Crotchy, Ajax, Comet, Silver Tips, Death, Tall 13, all the original Crazy Five guys, plus.
So you get into it. Hondo takes you out.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have the name Blade from the beginning?
From the beginning. I had this razor blade because I was the kid at Pathmark with the box cutter, and then I got my 007 knife later, and just being a crazy teenager, and the name stuck because I always had my blade with me.
It sounds like the name would have been for like a gangster or something.
Well, I wasn't the nice, kind gentleman you see now, back at that time, but I was just a wild kid, and that's what I was doing back in 72. I was just running around with the guys and my old knife.
So I hear stories of that era in the Bronx of a lot of gang activity, tough gangs everywhere. Was that the case where you were from? And if so, what were the gangs?
The gangs that were there, the graffiti guys were not part of the gangs. We knew the gang people and saw them, but the Savage Nomads, Savage Skulls, Black Spades, Golden Guineas from 241st Street, White Plains Road. Those guys are always having beef with each other, but they didn't really have beef with the graffiti guys because we're just out there like smoking bongs of hash and painting and just having a good time with the girls. So,
did you ever consider joining the gangs?
never. None of the graffiti guys wanted to be in the gangs. I'm like, their turf, our turf, that side of the street belongs to us. And I'm like, it was like, when you think about it now, it's really stupid. And so we just wanted to paint and just go around the 5 boroughs, underground and have fun.
Did they ever, any of those gangs that you mentioned, ever mess with you or cause problems to you?
None. They never bothered the Crazy Five. None of the guys from Co-op. Nobody. Even Doc Cool, T Cool, Ton 5. None of those guys were in the gangs, and the gangs never approached them. They're just like, these are the other teenagers just racking cans and going out painting.
When you were looking at the single hits on the walls, before you knew it was kids, what'd you think was happening? What'd you think? Who was
Well,
it?
you didn't think much of it at the very beginning because there was no organization to it. It was just like wild stuff all over the place until you actually kept staring. It's like, wow, this 167 meant it was 167th Street, you know. So if you saw like Bug 170 on a Third Avenue L train, which that guy got up constantly, and you would be like, wow, so Bug 170 is from there. You saw Fuzz One stuff on the Third Avenue L, Eminem, Hollywood 1, PB, KG9, Phase 2. These guys all went to Evander.
And so, what school did you go to?
I went to Evander.
You went to Evander
That's
as
where
well.
Kool and the Gang graduated in 1970.
So, were gangs, just to kind of finish up on this gang thing, were gangs also writing on the walls back then? Did you
Yeah,
notice a difference?
they would write their gang stuff, you know, so you knew you're like on Black Spades territory, but, you know, nobody cared about it because the Black Spades were just trying to annoy the Savage Skulls. They weren't trying to do anything with the other writer. Gun 229. These are all Third Avenue L people that just wanted to paint and have a good time.
So, by the time you got into it in 72, there was a change from the single hits to
Masterpiece.
to masterpieces, people like Hondo.
And Super Cool 223 is the first masterpiece I ever saw on a train. And he had a can of Red Devil Black and a flame orange outline, which definitely would be the Red Devil company. And every kid in class, when it would come, would run to the window at the same time. So you got like 30 kids in a classroom running over to be like, it's the Super Cool, you know, train. You didn't even know how to say masterpiece. You just like, you know, it was just coolest thing at the time.
So he does this monumental feat. He enlarges
Yeah.
his tag, does two color.
Yeah.
How fast was it for other kids to mimic that and start doing that?
Pretty much by the following weekend, because you got to go to school all week. So by the next Friday, Saturday night, you saw other people doing that. But the coolest thing I ever saw from that era is when Gun 229 that went to Evander did a Gun 229 top to bottom on a brand new silver train with the blue stripe. Because Mayor Lindsay is going out, Mayor Beam's coming in, he's trying to clean up the city, and it's just a Gun 229 red with no outline, but the letters are so big and stick letter square, you could read it from Evander High School to the train station, which is a good 8 or 10 blocks.
Wow.
And that was like the most amazing thing. I wish you could just describe it, but somebody could see like 30 kids in a classroom. It's the freedom, and everybody just jumps up, and the school teacher's like, what the hell it's like 30 kids running to a window. And of course the teacher's like, that's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm like, no, that's the coolest thing ever, man. You know, it's just because you're 15.
So Gun 229.
Yeah.
Super Cool 223.
Mm-hmm.
What was the next coolest thing that you remember that just blew all the kids away? Was there the next leap, next step?
Pistols 3D. Pistols 3D was on either a 2 or 5 train, same basic thing. And it was, I think, a hot pink piece with a yellow and white two-tone or like a black and white 3D, but it was like pink and yellow two-tone piece. And, excuse me. And you saw that go by. Everybody freaked out because it's like you're seeing a 3-dimensional on a letter, and people are barely able to do stick letters. And he's doing that. Flint 707 is doing a 3D with a striped cloud, things that were just unheard of. Priest 167 from the 4 line that was from War, and he did one also. So everybody's like, who's first? And like, they all came out the same weekend.
So these styles that were being experimented with and painted on the trains really sort of pushed the imagination of the kids and blew everybody away. Mm-hmm. When did you decide to jump into that and start playing with styles on the trains?
Well, my style was a stick letter style. The summer of 72 is when I did a red window down piece on a transplanted 3rd Avenue L train with white stars. And I was there all night because I got 2 cans. And if you had 2 cans, that was like amazing at that time. And it wasn't until like a year later into 73, end of 73, when people started trying to do bubble pieces, which is Phase 2, Comet, Jester would be the people that invented that first.
And so you were very well known for your bubble pieces.
Yeah, but I didn't invent it. The other names I mentioned, they invented.
So when you decided to do the bubble style, mm-hmm. it seemed like you had this notion of taking over because you did so much work.
Hmm.
What made you want to paint so much at that time?
Oh, just having fun because other than us, the Crazy Five guys, Comet wasn't a member at the time, but Comet and I just had this thing where we can like just do more and more and more, and then rack cans constantly, and it was just you're just having this fun, and the whole city is like a giant playground because there's no budget stuff for the kids. After school programs were all cut and the same nonsense you hear today. So Comet and I would just go around and just have this great time, and you go to any borough you wanted. It didn't matter black or white, Spanish, whatever it was. If you're not a gang member, you're just some teenager walking through, no one's going to bother you. You're just there racking cans and you're at the end of freaking Flatbush, Brooklyn. It didn't matter that you're not a Brooklyn person. You're just out there having fun and racking up and just having a great time.
All right. So you and Comet are arguably the best graffiti duo of all time.
There's no question. Yeah.
And you were gonna and
Senior citizen calls. It's
so
true.
so you guys are, this dynamic duo, you're
Mhm.
painting like crazy, you're racking up like crazy as well. What was your technique for racking? How did you get so much paint?
Well, we went out, we had the high white socks with the red thick tops, and everybody wore bell bottoms in the early 70s. So you can get 2 cans in each sock. As long as you didn't rack up silver, if you didn't rack up black, the ball would rattle. So you had to walk out of the store almost like in slow motion. And of course, Ajax One is the first person that figured, they didn't have Pampers and Huggies and that stuff then. He would take the pin on a diaper, you put it at the end of your dungaree lee jacket sleeve, put it on the end, put the jacket over your shoulder in like summertime because it's hard to rack up. And you would fill the sleeves with like 3 cans in each sleeve. You just walk like it was light, even though the thing's pulling you backwards, you know?
Right. So
People, if I get excited.
so jacket sleeves,
And of course,
socks.
and racking them, you put the cans across your belt because everybody had a 29-inch waist and you just had your shirt hanging over and you couldn't see it at all. And you walk out of the store, you had 8 or 10 cans of pop most of the time.
And you would do it all day long.
All the time. In those days, if you checked into homeroom class, you were checked in for the day. So of course, when your parents check your report card, it looks like you're doing great attendance, but you're just a stupid kid getting C's, right?
So
But
you leave school immediately after
yeah,
homeroom.
you just go in and I'm Comet by the back, and then we go out racking at Martin's and other mom and pop hardware stores like Abco.
So how long did that reign of Blade and Comet last?
From 74 through early 80s. We're doing easily 500 pieces a year each, minimum, if not more.
Amazing.
You know,
So when did you go from this guy that's doing single hits and then these sort of bubble masterpieces to the guy that started doing these outrageous trains with all these themes and these different letter styles? How did that happen?
just sitting in, when you did attend class, you had the loose leaf paper, and instead of listening to the teacher, you just started sketching on paper in the back of the class. And you just invented things because there's nothing to copy or bite from because it didn't exist. So you would just invent things out of the top of your head. And the following weekend, you would go out there and try to do it. I thought it'd be a good idea to draw a 8-foot joint on the side of a train in 1976. I thought it was cool. The mayor did not. It's just, there's a freaking joint on the side of us. It's still funny to me, but, and we would just come up with these different concepts, you know.
So back then, being this kid in school, doodling in class, what were the kind of inspiration? You said there was nothing to see, but was there other inspiration, cartoons or comics or, where were you getting some of these ideas from?
Most of the ideas that I had were coming out of my head, and I had one idea. I did this dancing lady train in November 1975, and that was a Don Martin character. But like my Joint Man and my Galaxy Gangster and these different characters that I made up years later are those things that came out of my head. Smoking bongs of hash all the time, and you get creative.
So just for people that don't know, could you tell us a little bit about Don Martin? Who was that artist that you mentioned?
Jesus Christ, I don't remember.
Well, I'll share.
It's like,
I'll share Don Martin. So Don Martin must have been for you back then, maybe from Mad Magazine,
yeah, must have. Yeah, it had to be Mad Magazine characters.
right? So
Cracked.
and Cracked Magazine.
That
So
was.
these are magazines that maybe they don't exist anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but back then there were these great comic artists,
Mm-hmm.
Don Martin, Sergio Aragonis, all these artists that were really doing some cool and pretty edgy,
Mm-hmm.
funny things in these magazines.
Yeah, Alfred E. Newman. That was the guy on the front of the Mad Magazine.
Right, their mascot.
Yeah, that was the funny.
It was kind of like this, photorealistic kind of like Richie Rich or Archie kind of kid, right?
Yeah.
Who was and you know what I thought was great about Mad Magazine? I don't know if you remember that back page where you folded it in
Yeah, and it made
half
another
and it
face.
made
It made it
another
something.
face.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So really radical artists. And so I think that it's interesting that you pulled from such a radical
Mm-hmm.
magazine or comic some
Yeah.
ideas because your stuff was really different from what other people are doing. It was kind of psychedelic and far out.
And that was, of course, because somebody really nice invented mescaline, which was great.
Tell us a little bit about mescaline. What would happen if you took mescaline and went painting?
It was better. You just laughed constantly. You were in this great mood. You're just running through train tunnels, and you pretty much were just walked around smiling like a nut for 7 hours straight. But it made you put colors together that you would never think to use because you didn't have something to look, but that guy used such and such because it didn't exist. So I was like, I'll just take Federal Safety purple and a can of School Bus yellow, and I'll put some Marlin blue with it from Rust-Oleum, and you just start putting colors together that you wouldn't think to use, and you would create something different most of the time, pretty much on the spot. So Comet and I were doing a lot of that. I'll just do this tonight. I'll do a bladism, because I have extra gray. So what are you going to put? James Brown made a song called Escapism on the Hot Pants album from 73. I was like, I'll put ISM at the end of my name and write bladism. And I see people doing isms now. But
Right.
that's when I did it, was in 73 from that
It's
song.
it's interesting that you mentioned Bladism
Mm-hmm.
and James Brown because people still do ism,
Mm-hmm.
but no one knows where it came from.
Off the Hot Pants album.
Off the Hot Pants album,
Mhm.
James Brown.
Yes. WBLS 107.5. You could hear the song Escapism and Hot Pants 10 times a day.
That good.
Yeah, well, but you heard it. You try to flip the WWRL on AM station. They'd be playing the same thing, so you couldn't. It was just constantly just kept dancing and having fun.
So, kind of a sidebar question.
Hmm.
Were you a dancer?
No, you don't want to see me dancing. I'm the black guy with no rhythm that can't play basketball either.
But you did master graffiti.
Yeah, I did master graffiti, and everybody's like, "How do you stay in shape?" I'm like, "You're running from the police all the time," and I didn't get it from being good with sports because I wasn't.
So, you explained ism to us. There's a couple of other things that I'd love to get an explanation for. You
Mhm.
mentioned mescaline. By far, my favorite train is one that you actually painted, I believe, are mescaline tablets on the train.
Yes, in 1980.
In 1980, you painted the Blade walking letters.
Yes.
What the hell was that?
I don't know, but I mean, Dolores loved it. So Dolores, she was looking at it on a sketch, and she drew little hearts on the page saying, "You got to do this. You got to do this." So I actually racked up the cans and everything to get the concept going. But they're little mescaline and acid tabs and THC tabs. So that's what the little guys on the end of the train car were. And of course, everybody called them my M&M men. And when you're saying it to kids, I'm like, yeah, M&Ms. Yeah, and the other people they're like Skittles. And I'm like, there is no such thing as Skittles. This is 1980. The letters are the colors of lifesavers because it's just red, orange. There's no blending colors. And the little just mescaline and acid tabs on the end of the car. And it was just whatever was going on in my head back when I was 1980. I was 23.
1980, 23. Where did you paint that train?
The stump at Esplanade.
Do you remember that night?
Yeah. It was just common. both of us there. And of course, I'm always in my one spot doing the whole car, and he's hitting every car down the line. I think he had like 10, 20 cans of silver. He's just like, come, 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 come. He would fucking put them out like a machine gun. And
What happened the next day when it pulled out? Do you know? Did you see it? Did you hear
yeah,
about
yeah,
it?
we got pictures of it. The next day you're supposed to go to school, but you got to get pictures of your piece. So we have our 126 box camera, and we'd sit on 180th Street and hope that you get a shot of it in the sun. And of course, it would go by, and you'd be really pissed off because you knew the other side of the car. And of course, it went down to either new lots or Utica and turned around and came back backwards. So then you got to go and chase your train till you can get a straight shot of the train at the time. But it was worth it because I got it with windows. And Martha Cooper got a shot of it, and Henry both got a shot of it. I mean, with windows. Without windows, it loses a lot.
So you mentioned Martha and Henry, and they got shots. How did they know to take pictures of that car that day?
Martha said it was pure luck. Because I didn't know them then in 1980, and they said they were out there taking pictures of all the stuff that was running at the time, and my train happened to go by, and you see the picture that she always gets the buildings in the background, and it was turned around, so it was facing her side. And just by chance, I was like, oh, she got a picture of it in a subway art book that came out years later. But I never knew that, you know.
You never knew she took pictures that day.
I never
Until years later.
Until years later, until I saw it in a book. Or Henry Chaffin took a picture of it, and he used to put these things before Photoshop, and he put the pictures together. I never met them. So it happened to be in the centerfold, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Changed my life. No more checker cab in Manhattan.
Okay, so this is interesting. So at that time, you were driving a checkered cab.
Yes, in Manhattan.
And still painting at night.
Yes, of course. Doing that and going to band practice with our disco funk band. I had lots of energy.
Disco funk band.
Disco funk band. But also we played Led Zeppelin, also Casey and the Sunshine Band, Donna Summer music, but we played like a variety of stuff because everybody in the band is white guys.
Where were you playing?
All the clubs. Jody Bellaby was our lead singer, a Tom Jones kind of guy, and he would arrange things with his dad for different places to go to local clubs and discos because we played the Copacabana song by Barry Manilow. We played that song almost perfect. He's like, what the hell is that? What are you what are you talking about? It's Barry Manilow.
Old stuff.
Yeah, old stuff. But Casey and the Sunshine Band, we played all of that stuff perfect.
So Blade, you mentioned the TC5 crew, the Crazy Five, and all those guys. How did that crew come together? How did you guys form this band of artists?
The five of us were born in Parkside Projects in the mid-50s, and we used to hang out all the time, playing basketball, playing Chinese handball. I don't know if anybody remembers that, and lots of Skelly and Ringolevio. And we started painting, and we all sat in this project building in the dead of winter, all freezing cold, sitting by the old-fashioned metal radiators, and we were trying to think of the names, to call ourselves, and Death. Also wrote Rocks. He thought up the word Crazy Five, and we stayed with it. And within a year, 2 years, we had taken over the twos and the fives.
But the Crazy Five grew. It wasn't just the five of you, right? You guys let more members?
It was the five of us for a long, long time. And then there was Cram, which is Mark spelled backwards. He was there painting with us for the first several months, but then he got drafted to Nam right at the end because he's born in 55. And then Ajax, Comet, Silvertips, Fritz, and Mr. Pug 2, Band 2 was even in the Crazy Five, Roach. There's like 20, 25 guys. So people would think you're going to see 5 guys and you see 25 guys all together. So that was cool.
So Blade, after so many years, you painted all these trains, thousands of trains. You end up becoming world famous outside of New York City. Everybody knows you.
Yes, that's true. All right.
You started traveling to do art shows. Is that right?
Yeah, back in 82 with Yaki Crumblet.
1982, you did an art. Where did you go? How did that happen?
Yaki Crumblet sent us to Amsterdam. Myself, Scene, Quick. He wanted to meet Tracy also, but Tracy was being so difficult at the time. Yaki couldn't deal with his personality. But and then we started going to the Netherlands to the Gallery Kornblit. 82, 83. And I met Yaki Kornblit on on Grand Street and West Broadway, half a block from Henry Chopin's studio, because Henry Chopin was there.
Got it. So did he make the introduction? Is that how that happened?
Yes, and he was like, "This is Blade. He's the king of New York, such and such on the trains." And of course, Yaki's like, "I want you to come over and do that." And then we had dinner at Scene's house that weekend, and his mom made this a really incredible dinner, and it was very funny because I got to be if Scene's brother Mad was here, he'd laugh. Was I was the first black guy to ever actually sit at the dinner table. Whereas if you speak to Mad, Philip and Gregory's Scene's brothers, they would tell that. This freaking mooly at the table is a freak, the way they talk, the Italian thing. It was funny at the time.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, that era that you're mentioning, there was a lot of segregation in the city, but TC5 seemed to break all of
Yeah,
that.
because I'm a black dude. Karachi is Jewish. Bam's Italian. 1213 Mario is Yugoslavian. And Death is a Irish guy.
It's the United Nations.
Yes, nobody talked racism stuff. We were just like, let's just go out, have fun, kiss chicks, and smoke bongs of hash. That was pretty much it.
How was it when you went to Europe for the first time for those shows? Was there also that feeling of no racism?
No racism. I went there with Dolores, and Dolores is Italian, very, very fair skin, and we could go anywhere, and nobody thought anything about it. But I couldn't go see Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Richard Dreyfuss, I think came out in 76 or 77. I could not go to the theater in my neighborhood with Dolores to see that because of the gangs there, because they would call her, N-Lover, Oreo, they would say, different stuff like that. I had to go to Canarsie to go see that movie with Dolores, And now, you see a black and white couple is normal.
Crazy. So you've seen so much change over the course of your lifetime.
Yeah, I saw Obama become president. It's a black dude of my complexion, younger than me, was king of the world. That's impossible because I also saw when they shot Martin Luther King in 68 when I was 11. I saw that because you didn't edit television in 68. You just shoot this guy dead on freaking black and white live television. So to see go from that to the president is a black dude. That's, pretty amazing stuff.
It is pretty amazing stuff. You seem to have this youthful and positive spirit. How did you have that and continue to maintain such good energy, such a good spirit, even though you saw these things, the shootings, all these different things happening in New York City? How'd you remain so optimistic?
I don't know, because the rest of a lot of the people I came along with, not Crazy Five Guys, but other people I've met over the years, they didn't keep that. They grew up to be like these bitter old, miserable old bastards, man. And I'm like, life's too short for that, man. Be fun, enjoy, do whatever the hell you can, and have a great time. And some of my friends from childhood, they're still sitting in front of the TV, yelling at the TV with politics. And I'm like, that's what your parents and grandparents did. We used to look at them and be like, man, what a waste that is. That's so stupid. And now they're doing the same shit. Let's yell at the TV. And I'm like, and the billionaire on TV is not listening. He's a billionaire. He's do whatever the hell he wants. The people don't count.
Going back to your graffiti days, you remained this, with this optimism. You became this master painter. You painted with such imagination and skill. If you can pick your top 3 trains that you ever painted, what were your top 3?
The 4 races in a King car that I did, which nobody remembers, my Swinging Letters train, and of course the Deep train on the cover of my Blade King graffiti book. Those are the 3 that were the most fun that I painted.
Tell us about the Deep train. What was your inspiration behind the Deep? What was going on with you?
I was just like thinking at the time, because I still had my first apartment, and I was like, instead of we always have to paint left to right because the train makes it so you have to do so. I'm like, if I make the letters try to go in and out, and I'll put the A on the center door, so when the door opens, it makes the piece like move. That was thing. And the guy at the end of the car is supposed to be ducking back with his shoulder and his head just like going, oh shit, because you broke the flat plane of the train. One time I drew a guy in 77, I think, a guy walking his own head, but I made sure you draw the head on the door so that his head looks like it's rolling on the door. You're doing fun stuff because you're a teenager as well.
What was or was there ever a scary incident for you in painting that made you pause and maybe think not to do it anymore?
The night they chased me and Comet out of Esplanade, a cop named Artie and Freddie, and we're running out of Esplanade. Stop or I'll shoot. And these guys, you hear the guns shooting, and of course they was like, "What are they shooting at you?" And I'm like, "You're running like hell. You don't turn around to look, because if you turn on to look, maybe the bullet will go here, right?" I'm laughing now, but that night, we're freaking out, and we're running out of Esplanade Tunnel. And those same two cops came to where all the Crazy Five guys hung out several days later, and Comet and I are shooting hoops really badly, but we're doing that. And they brought Comet and I to the Tombs, which is 158th Street and 3rd Avenue. And their tombs were closed, but they put us in separate cells where the water's like this deep up to your ankles on your Converse sneakers, and they're beating me and Comet in the head. Right? I can speak for myself. I know they're doing that to Comet because I can hear him yelling, and they're just like, "That's Blade." Oh, Comet's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And of course, the other cops are beating me on top of the head. And he's like, "That's Comet." I'm like, "I'm just playing a game of 21. This white kid walked in, we're just shooting hoops." Because, you don't rat, period. It doesn't matter how many lumps and bumps I'm going to get through my old afro. You can punch me in the head for an hour. I'm like, I have no idea who that is. You don't rat. The one rule in graffiti.
So that day, that's when you thought about that.
Well, I thought I didn't go painting for a while. I mean, I really had those Fred Flintstone lumps were really on my head, And they beat up Comet. The cops beat him up really bad, because you're a white guy. Why are you doing this N-word thing, like the minorities do? And, Comet's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not Comet,
Do you have any regrets?
I wish I started in 1970 on the 3rd Avenue L instead of in 72, because I love graffiti, and I'm graffiti hardcore to the end. I don't change because somebody tells me I better do it. That's the opposite of why people got into graffiti, is your freedom to paint and be free to what you want to create from within. Not what, you'll make a lot of money if you do exactly what I tell you. I'm like, all right, I'll make a lot of money, but then I can't go in the mirror and shave, because I'm like, I'm your bitch. I'm not using stencil or any other copycat stuff. That's just not who I am.
Blade, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ket, and thank you to everybody, and thank you to Modelo.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening to us today. My name is Ket. You've just heard the great Blade share a little bit of his life and his stories as a writer. Blade, thank you again, and thanks to Modelo for sponsoring the podcast. This is the Museum of Graffiti's podcast, where we get these great stories from legends like Blade. Until next time, peace.
Perfect. Yes.